All right, today you will be doing what's called a fraction performance task called School Garden. This is a fun task that you will be doing with your table group. I will be taking this task up for a grade because everything on this task is what you've already learned with fractions, and this is just a fun way to wrap up everything you've learned. So please take this task very seriously. So this entire task is talking about 4 third grade classes at Jefferson Elementary School, and they are planting a garden. So every question on this task is talking about some sort of garden with these classes. So in this first part of the task, it says using the garden space below. So this is actually the garden, aka the whole. Understand? And it says show how each class can have an equal section of the garden. How many classes are there at this school? 4 third grade classes. So you need to take this garden and actually divide this garden up to where all 4 classes have an equal section. Understand? Okay. So then over here, you will write what fraction of the garden will each class plant. And it labeled it Class A, Class B, Class C, Class D. You need to divide this garden up between the 4 classes. Everyone should know how to divide that garden up into 4 equal parts. Right? Then label each part. I'm going to go ahead and give you this part. Then you are going to label Class A, Class B, Class C, Class D. Over here, you will write the fraction of the garden that Class A gets to plant. Write the fraction that Class B gets. Write the fraction Class C gets. Write the fraction Class D gets. Easy enough? All right, moving on to part 2. Part 2, this is where they're actually going to plant the garden. So you can see that each part is titled, so it kind of makes it a story. This is where we split the garden up. So part 2 is actually where they're going to plant the garden. Now, here is your garden. It is the same size hole as this garden above. I just needed to make it smaller to fit on your paper, okay? So on Monday and Tuesday, Class A and Class B each planted seeds in their sections of the garden. Show how much of the garden was used. So you need to divide this garden up again the same exact way and give the fraction to show how much of it was used by Class A and Class B. That's easy. On Wednesday, Class C planted tulips in their section of the garden. Now how much of the garden is left for planting? So it didn't ask how much of the garden was used for planting now. It asked how much is left. Be careful. Put that answer here. On Thursday, Class D planted carrots on their section of the garden. Right? What fraction of the garden is planted? Altogether is what it's talking about, okay? Turn the page. Part 3 is titled Planting Seeds on the Number Line. So now our friends, now we're going to show them planting seeds on the number line. The students are preparing to plant seeds in the garden. They are using number lines to plant them an even distance apart. Help them to figure out the missing fractions. On the number line below, label the blanks with the correct missing fractions.
Do we have to write the fractions the way it's written on there?
No. You do not have to write the fractions the way it's written on here. You can write the fractions the way you were taught. And then here's number line 2. Below is a number line. Label the number line by following the directions. Label the 2/8 mark you can see that they already put 1/8, so you should be able to clearly put where 2/8 is located. Label 2/8. Once you've labeled 2/8, put a check mark to let yourself know you've done that. Then label 5/8. Put a check mark once you've done that. Then label half, the halfway mark. Put a check mark once you've done that. And then label 6/8. Put a check mark once you've done that. How does it want you to label it? Point a plot and write the fraction below it, just like we do. On the number line below, label the number line by following the directions. Label the fraction that is equivalent to 6/8. Label the fraction that is equivalent to 2/8. Uh-oh, something's different though. How many parts does this number line have? 4. But the fractions it wants me to find are eighths. What do we need to do to this number line to change it to eighths? Do that and then first you label your fourths. Then find the fraction that is equivalent to 6/8 and 2/8. You can, okay? Make sure you clearly have it labeled, the two fractions that are equivalent to these two. Whether you circle the fraction that's equivalent to 6/8 or whatever, or whether you put it down here. All right, next part, turn the page. Part 4 is called splitting watermelons. So apparently our garden grew watermelons. Jake and Melvin were picking watermelons from the garden. They were so excited to find watermelons that were the exact same size. Jake cut his into 3 equal pieces. Come down here and draw Jake's. When you get this, understand? Draw Jake's watermelon in 3 equal pieces. Melvin cut his into 8 equal pieces. Draw Melvin's into the pieces that need you to cut it. Who has the watermelon with bigger pieces? Write that answer here. How do you know? In this space below, you're going to write how you know. And you should have already drawn the 2 watermelons. Understand? Reminder, this is for our grade, so you need to pay attention to the directions. If you do not draw a picture here, you will get points off because it says, well, it does say draw or write, but I am telling you to write, draw and write. All right, so go to this section. Jake ate 2/3 of a watermelon. Shade in the amount that Jake ate on his watermelon. They drew the watermelon for you. They even put the dot in the center. We have to divide it into thirds. We come down to the center and then like this and like this. I'm giving you an example. It says shade in the amount that Jake ate on his watermelon. It says Jake ate 2/3. You would shade it. Melvin ate 7/8 of a watermelon. We need to divide this watermelon into eighths. We need to remember how we divide a circle into eighths. And we are going to shade in the amount that Melvin ate on his watermelon. And then we are going to come down here below using our pictures to see which one has more shaded. And we are going to compare 2/3 to 7/8 by using these symbols. Does everybody understand what's going on so far? It's pretty simple. It's pretty fun as well. Turn the page. And then Susie also picked a watermelon the same size as Jake. She cut her watermelon in 6 equal pieces. So come down here and cut Susie's watermelon into 6 equal pieces. She wants to eat an equal amount of watermelon as Jake. So you need to shade in the fraction that Susie ate on the watermelon below. Remember, Jake cut his into thirds. Susie cuts hers into sixths. So you are going to be shading the amount of watermelon that Susie needs to eat the same amount that Jake ate. And then you need to write the fraction and explain, did Susie eat more than half of her watermelon? And then explain your answer below. So you will work on this as a table group as long as you are not loud. If you get loud or you're not working together, you will have to do this on your own. When you're finished with this, put it in on the shelf over there where your teacher's name is located. And any early finishers, any groups that finish early, you are to do Zern because you are still responsible for your Zern digital lessons this week to meet your goal.